If I were to ask you what the first music video was, what would you say? You might be tempted to suggest Video Killed the Radio Star, the first video ever aired on MTV. Or maybe earlier promotional videos like Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, the Beatles' Strawberry Fields Forever, or Bob Dylan's Subterranean Homesick Blues sequence from the D.A. Pennebaker documentary, Don't Look Back. And these would all be great suggestions, but the reality is that the history of music on film reaches back even further than that. It reaches back before the golden age of Hollywood, when America's biggest stars were singing and dancing in Technicolor spectacles. It even predates the early days of animation, when Fleischer Studios was rotoscoping Cab Calloway into surreal Betty Boop cartoons. For as long as film and recorded music have existed, artists, inventors, and businessmen alike have been trying to find ways of combining the two mediums. One of the earliest works that might be called a music video made its debut all the way back in 1894. It was called The Little Lost Child. The Little Lost Child was the vision of an electrician named George Thomas, who saw the potential in a piece of technology called the magic lantern. The magic lantern was a loose term for a number of different types of projectors that started to catch on in the mid-1800s. By projecting light through glass slides, magic lanterns could enlarge and display images to audiences. Thomas realized that this technology could be used in tandem with music. He came up with the idea of projecting slides with lyrics and images alongside a song. He then took this concept to sheet music publishers Edward B. Marks and Joe Stern, who saw its promotional potential and allowed Thomas to use their song, The Little Lost Child, for this experiment. Thomas went about creating what he called an illustrated song. This illustrated song consisted of 10 slides depicting the narrative of the little lost child. The illustrated song made its debut during the intermission of a minstrel show by Primrose and West at Manhattan's Grand Opera House. Now, a quick aside, Primrose and West were blackface performers. Much of the early history of the music video is directly tied to the racist practice of minstrelsy, which was dominant in American pop culture at the time. That is a deeply complex topic, so I'm not going to dive fully into it here, but I'm going to give warning, this is not the last time it's going to come up in this video. When The Little Lost Child made its debut, the projectionist accidentally put the slides in upside down, drawing laughter from the audience and undercutting the sad lyrics of the song. Once the projectionist corrected things, however, people realized the power of image and song together, and The Little Lost Girl became a sensation. A new industry was born, as Marks and Stern sold 2 million copies of the sheet music. Not much cultural memory of illustrated songs remains, even though they were common across America well into the 30s. But here's the thing. Is an illustrated song a music video? Not really. For one, it doesn't actually have video. The images used in The Little Lost Child were still, but that's sort of the nature of technology and media. It's easy to look now and say, well, that's not technically a music video, but the reality is the question of what actually counts as a music video has been in flux for a long time. Do the intricate dance numbers from Hollywood's golden age count as music videos? What about the visually experimental variety show performances from the 70s? How do we take stock of more modern experiments like Arcade Fire's interactive Wilderness Downtown? And what about TikTok and other contemporary short-form video? Music video is really a loosely defined term whose implications have changed constantly throughout history and are still changing to this day. Even the most common understanding of what a music video is relatively new, only coming about with MTV in the 1980s. Despite this loose definition and constant change, music videos have had enormous impacts on the culture industry over the past century. So I think we should talk about them. Over the course of this 7-episode series, I'm going to walk you through the entire history of the music video as a medium. Along the way, we'll take a look at the changing technologies that shaped the art form, we'll explore the visionary musicians, artists, and directors who carved their own path and defined much of modern culture. And we'll continually press up against that question of what actually counts as a music video. Welcome to Hit Record. Hey there, if you're enjoying this video and you're excited for the rest of the series, I've got some good news for you. The next episode is already up on Nebula. So once you finish this video, you can head on over there and watch all of episode 2 with no ads and no interruptions like this one. That's not just a one-off. Every episode of the series is going to be released 2 weeks early on Nebula. And of course, there's tons more beyond that. Nebula is the streaming service created by and for creators like myself. They believe that indie creators are capable of redefining the online video space, and they're giving us the money and resources to do that. Nebula has funded a number of incredible originals, including my own Polyphonic magazine, Lindsay Ellis's Ballad of John and Yoko, and Volksgeist's Danger Music. And Nebula is also home to a bunch of fantastic podcasts, including my own Ghost Notes and the upcoming The Wonder of It All. That podcast will see former Harvey Danger lead singer Sean Nelson interview creatives of all sorts about the conspicuous breakthroughs that changed their lives. It'll feature guests including Jacob Slichter from Semisonic and Adam Duritz from Counting Crows. I'm personally really excited to check that out, and if you feel the same, you can be the first to listen on September 23rd by signing up to Nebula. If you head on over to go.nebula.tv/polyphonic, you can get started today for 40% off an annual subscription. Following that link is the best way to get early access to my content, and signing up also means that you'll be personally helping to fund the creation of future Nebula projects. So again, go to the link in the description to check it out, watch the next episode of my series, and support my channel. Alright, now let's get back to the video. If we can't count the illustrated song for not having video, we might be able to find some of the predecessors to music videos by looking to silent film. This sounds paradoxical, but the reality is that there has never been film without sound. On December 28, 1895, the Lumiere brothers debuted their first public film screening, showing 10 short films documenting everyday life. And these films were accompanied by a live piano score. We don't actually know what was played at that landmark first showing, but it's easy to imagine jaunty ragtime accompanying the simple slapstick of a piece like L'Arroseur Arrosé. As film caught on through the turn of the century, it became standard practice for theaters to live score films with pianists, organs, or even live orchestras. Some theater organs even had full-on sound effects built in. But sound accompaniment does not a music video make. A lot of this is where the groundwork for film score was laid. And while film scores have music and video, they're not exactly music videos. Still, there was a distinct musicality to the performances of many of the early silver screen stars. Some of these early films had set scores, but it was also common practice for in-house pianists to improvise the visuals using cue sheets as guides. And that brings us to one of the most important aspects of the music video, at least in my mind. I think one potential criterion for our definition of a music video is repeatability. A music video is a singular art object, something that remains the same each time you watch and listen. Of course, this isn't a strict rule, and there have been and will continue to be exceptions, but I think it's a good starting point. To find that sort of reliable repeatability, we need to fast forward to the synchronization of sound and film. By the early 1920s, both film and audio recording technology had reached a level of quality and reliability, but nobody had quite figured out how to properly synchronize them. This led to an arms race as companies sought out methods of combining sound and film. In the end, Western Electric came out on top with a piece of technology called the Vitaphone. The Vitaphone used an electric motor to synchronize the film reels with wax disc recordings, allowing for movies with sound, which were soon known as talkies. One of the first talkies to take America by storm was The Jazz Singer, featuring Al Jolson, who at the time was far and away the most popular singer in the country. And if you know anything about film history, or anything about Al Jolson, we are once again encountering that issue of blackface minstrelsy. Most of The Jazz Singer is actually silent, but it features musical numbers with sound that see Jolson display his signature belting vocal style.
Goodbye. Don't cry.
These numbers are more potential candidates for the first music video. They have repeatability, they feature deliberate, interesting visual language, and they can even be watched today on YouTube like you might watch any other music video. The Jazz Singer was an evolution of the musical theater tradition, clashing it head-on with film and setting up decades of musicals to come. But is a musical section from a wider work really a music video? Maybe. There's definitely examples of musical sections being used as their own video, but I tend to think that if we're looking at the jazz singer, then the film itself is more the art object rather than the ain't heard nothing yet scene. For something closer to our modern understanding of the music video, we can look to 1929's St. Louis Blues. Directed by Dudley Murphy and starring the Empress of the Blues, Bessie Smith, St. Louis Blues is a powerful short film, highlighted by a striking performance of the titular song. Unlike The Jazz Singer, which was adapted from an existing show, St. Louis Blues was designed outward from one song. That song's original writer, W.C. Handy, produced the film and specifically asked Bessie Smith to appear in it after hearing her rendition of the song. The film uses visuals to deepen the story of the song, creating a new art object that exists beyond a single song or film itself. The whole creative ethos behind this piece really looks a lot like the process behind music videos today. And while it is longer than just the song, there's no shortage of modern music videos that extend beyond the music, adding narrative skits and interludes. Dudley Murphy would follow up on the success of St. Louis Blues with Black and Tan, another short film featuring the music of Duke Ellington and his orchestra. As the film industry boomed, these kinds of musical shorts became commonplace, playing before feature films or during intermissions. At the same time, a new art form was entering a golden age: animation. After a decade or so of silent experimentations, the potential of sound synchronization became apparent to early animators. One such animator was a man named Walt Disney. After seeing The Jazz Singer, Disney was determined to bring sound into animation. He and Ub Iwerks created a musical short film called Steamboat Willie. The film combined a number of older songs, including the vaudeville piece Steamboat Bill and the folk song Turkey in the Straw, with some original scoring. Steamboat Willie isn't a music video per se, but it trailblazed new ground with combining visuals and music. The abstraction afforded by the medium of animation adds a new dimension to this combination of sound and vision. After the enormous success of Steamboat Willie, Disney and other animation studios began to pump out musical cartoons. This era saw the birth of Merry Melodies and Looney Tunes, cartoons that were intrinsically tied to music. And in 1931, Fleischer Studios pushed these proto-music videos even further by collaborating with the singer and bandleader Cab Calloway. They used their patented rotoscoping technique to capture Calloway's electric stage presence and transfer it to film. These collaborations were strange and surreal, treading the fine line between funny and creepy. The performance in St. James Infirmary Blues is particularly striking with its odd retelling of Snow White. By the mid-30s, these animations were everywhere, and the arrival of color film brought a new dynamic to the medium. One of the most successful animation series was Disney's experimental Silly Symphonies, which further pushed the abstraction of music on film. These animations embodied the symphony orchestration with dynamic characters and shouts of color. Once again, it's up for debate whether these animations count as music videos per se, but their influence undoubtedly shaped the medium's visual language. To this day, music videos are one of the richest sources of experimental animation, and animation has time and time again proved a robust and exciting way to depict music visually. Once again, we press up against the difficult history of American racism with the conversations of these cartoons. Many of the cartoons of this era were based on tropes from minstrel performances, and some were so outright racist that I can't show them on screen without this video being taken down. This legacy is important to discuss because it deeply informs the traditions and practices of the music video industry. The path laid down by this systemic racism would continue to rear its head well into the MTV era, with the channel originally not airing videos by black artists. And it persists in music to this day. Acknowledging and unraveling these things is an essential part of telling this story. By the 1930s, both the film and music industries had secured their hold on American culture. We were still decades away from the modern music video emerging, but its early predecessors were everywhere. And as the golden age of Hollywood came on, music on film would rise to play an even bigger role in the culture and media of the day. New talents in song and dance were hitting the screen and stealing hearts. Behind the camera, directors, choreographers, and cinematographers were about to push film to all new levels and create a visual language that would shape music videos for decades to come. And as technological innovations increased media access, televisions came into the home, and new generations would find themselves closer than ever to the pop stars of their day. All that and more on the next episode of Hit Record. So there you have it, the early history of the music video. If you really enjoyed that and you can't wait for the next episode, well, it's up on Nebula already. In that episode, I talk about the influence of Golden Age Hollywood on the music video, and we discuss figures like Fred Astaire, Busby Berkeley, and then we get all the way into the 50s and talk about Elvis. Personally, I think it's a good video, and you should watch it. And if you want to watch it now, you can go to nebula.tv/polyphonic. That'll get you 40% off, and yeah, like I said, you can watch the video now. If not, we'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks for watching. Bye!